Hello, this is John Barton from JB Cases. Continuing our discussion about center-to-edge aiming, it has come up online that one of the users on the forum, Bautista, wants to know, how do you use center-to-edge aiming if you have to use side spin? Well, number one, center-to-edge aiming is for lining you up to the center ball shot line. So for example, for this shot, this is the line I need to make the 10. Regardless of where the cue ball is, it's still the same line. So if we were using ghost ball, for example, I could move around this way if that was in fact a ghost ball, and it would still be the same line all the way around. Now, if I knew where the ghost ball is, then it would be easy, fairly easy, to line up and roll the cue ball right across that line. The problem is that you don't know where the ghost ball is exactly, because you can't see it. So it might be here, it might be here, it might be slightly here. You don't know where it's at. So center-to-edge aiming, for me, is an easier way to, and for other people, is an easier way to line up to that center ball line, which brings you to where the ghost ball is, even though you can't see the ghost ball. So no matter where the cue ball is here, if I just use the center-to-the-edge system, I will line up exactly where the ghost ball would be to be able to make that shot. So for example, shooting this very slowly, you'll see I can just make it, no matter where I place the cue ball, I can easily line up to make that center ball. Now Joey's question is, what happens if you have to use spin? Okay, here's the thing with spin. And this is traditionally the way that it's been for ghost ball. So if you use side spin, which most of you in the discussion already know, but I'll go through it anyway for those who don't. When you use side spin, what happens is the cue will push against the ball will push back, and it will create an effect called deflection or squirt. Okay? What happens is that basically, as the cue bends, it will push this ball off the line where the cue was initially aiming. So, for example, if I address this cue ball at the left side, instead of traveling a perfectly straight line and hitting right there, it will slightly go to the right. And that's what's called squirt. Okay? And then if it's on the cue, it's called deflection. How much the cue will bend and push the ball away. That's why you have shafts like Predator and OB1, Jacoby, and so on, which promise you very low, and some of them no deflection, which is to say that if I got here and I shot this shot with center ball, and I hit it fairly good, it should come right back to my tip like that. Now if I move over and I shoot it with left English, then it should go exactly to that spot, the same spot that I just hit, and then the English will take effect. However, depending on the cue, it could go farther out and affect where the target ball goes. So let's see what happens. So right there I hit it at a fairly low speed, so it hit very close to where it would hit with no deflection. Alright, so in ghost ball aiming, traditionally one would compensate for that. If this was the ghost ball, you would put it here on the line, you would imagine it, and depending on how much your cue deflects or the ball squirts, you would want to adjust your aim slightly to compensate for that, so that at the end of when you shoot the shot, the cue ball will end up in the right spot to make the ball, to hit it on the correct vector to make it, the correct line. Now, in center-to-edge aiming, you're always going to start out with aiming for the center ball hit with no English, no spin. Then you will adjust for spin. So, for example, if I were doing this all visually, I would look at the center of the edge, I would look at edge to A here, I would get all that in my mind where I want to go, and I would come down and pivot in, and now I can either drop into dead center ball like this, and be dead on the shot, or if I prefer, I can drop in with the English already set, I can drop in with the spin already set because my body already got into position, and that will, on that one I put left spin so it brings it back, it shortens the angle off the rail. Or if I prefer, I can get into the shot with dead center ball and then pivot over for my spin. So here's dead center. Now I'm going to slightly pivot with my backhand and shoot the shot. That one, as you can see, sometimes carries the risk of over pivoting or not enough or whatever. But that's one method of doing it. Let's try that one again. Okay, now I came in right at dead center. Now I'm going to slightly pivot to the left. And you can see how much spin that takes. Now personally I prefer the backhand English method. A lot of people who use center to edge, they prefer to just visualize everything up here using the center to edge method, and then they just simply drop in right at the spin that they want because they find that that works. They're already got their body positioned where the center to edge line would be, therefore the adjustment is so slight for the spin they don't even have to think about it. They can just drop in at whatever spin they need. This time we'll put right spin on it. So you don't even notice it. It's so slight, and you can see how that ball takes off, that the adjustment is even, you don't even have to think about it really. Because you know that you're putting your body in the center ball position, and that's your baseline. So as I'm looking at this ball, I've already got, because I'm using the center to edge line and the edge to A line, that's what Pro 1 is, for example. I already know from experience, from practice, using this method, that using those two lines puts my body right where I need to be to make that ball center. So that's my baseline. So therefore I could drop in and make this ball with no English. Okay, now if I need English, the adjustment is teeny tiny, very slight. I don't even have to think about it. That's how slight it is. Now, Joey says, so we've addressed that. Now let me show you a manual pivot, okay, just so it's very obvious. Alright, so the same way, but this time I'm going to drop my cue in, and you'll see it's obviously pointing here. Now I'm going to do a little tiny shift with my body so that the cue goes to center ball. Now I'm at dead center ball, and I shoot that shot and it goes right in. Now watch what happens. The same shot. The same shot, we're going to do the manual pivot again. So I'm in position visually right here. I come down, I put my cue where it's pointing at the side. I do a slight adjustment with my body. You see that? This is my hips. I don't know if you can see over my shoulders, but watch my ass move. Now I'm at dead center ball. Now I'm going to, with my wrist, I'm going to slightly move back to the left, and that puts me with left English shooting the same shot. Now on this one I'm going to look right down the cue, past the 5 to the rail. That's going to keep my stroke nice and straight. Notice I didn't move my bridge hand here. All that explaining while I'm trying to hold position gets me a little bit there. So let's do that again, okay? Center to edge, pivot to center ball, slight wrist movement, backhand English, and you'll see that we get the left hand English took and brought the ball up short. It checked it short. That's what's being asked. Now, I think Joey showed us a shot on his little video where he had a little bit less severe of an angle. So for this one, for example, I'll do the manual pivot again. Pivot to center. Very slight backhand movement brings me back to left hand English. And you'll notice that we get a lot of left hand English to take and bring us in that way. So that's it basically. That's Joey's shot. That was his challenge, I believe. That's what he wanted to know. How do you use spin with center to edge English? And I'm sorry, how do you use center to edge with spin? Now, he asked, another thing he asked was, what if you're like right here or something on the rail? I mean, I guess he has this idea that this is a shot where you'd be somehow hampered. But here is center to edge using this method from here. So this is going to be center to the left edge, and it's going to be the right edge on this particular shot to the A position. That's what I'm looking at. I'm going to come right in. I'm going to pivot to center ball. Now that one doesn't go. On this one, if I want to use manual CTE, me personally, I would do this. Center to edge, edge to A, and I would come in manually from the left side, swing to center ball, and that puts me right there where I need to be to make the ball. Now that one, you know, I was a little bit out of position since I didn't really get back up on it. So let's do that one again. Same thing. Now I'm going to do a manual pivot. Okay, center ball right there. And that puts me right where I need to be. Now, I'm still banking it a little bit. What happens if I need to use side spin with a shot like this? Well, the same thing applies. Now I'm going to use Pro 1, where I'm going to come in from the right side. Okay, I'm going to swing in from the right side to get in position. I'm still using the same visual, which is starting out with the center to the edge and the edge to the A or to the C position here. Swing in from the right, drop in. Now I'm dead on the ball. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of side spin, in this case right English. Here, I'll do left English for you. Now I swung into left, and this is why I like backhand English, because I can go to the right, to the left, up and down, wherever I want to be, because I'm starting out with the center ball baseline. Here, let me put that. There's a center ball baseline. So since that's the center ball baseline, okay, there it is. Now I can go right, left, whatever I want. So let's go left. You can see it shorten up there. Now, let's do the same shot again and do it with right English. Okay, same shot again. Center to edge. This edge to C. I drop in to center ball. There, I'm at center ball. Now I'm going to pivot to right. You see my backhand? Goes to right. And I dog it. That's what Joey wants to show you. Is he wants to say, what happens if, he says that's what will happen. Let's take a look at that shot again and analyze it. Center to edge, edge to A. Drop into center ball. A little bit of right English. Okay, now there's a shot, for example, I've just discovered for me, okay, for me, I have discovered right there that I will need to adjust a little bit when I'm using right. Why do I need to do that? Because I'm real close to the rail, so any little deviation right there is going to throw it off. So what am I going to do here since I'm using center to edge? Okay, center to edge brings me to my baseline. Now, I can make a slight adjustment with my foot here and come in a little bit to the left or to the right extra to compensate for that. So this time, I'm going to go center to edge, edge to C, but instead of going direct edge to C, I'm going to come out just a little bit. Now, I'm guessing right here, okay, because I've never actually sat down and practiced this particular shot this way. So I'm learning right on camera. Center ball. A little bit of right, and there we go. Now, what if I really needed to load this up with a super amount of right? I mean, just the most possible, you know, that I know is going to deflect like crazy no matter what shaft you have. Well, I can always go back to ghost ball. I can always go back to this, lining up here, and figuring out, okay, I need to be way over here to load this up. So you can see how much right got on there. I can always do that. Anybody can. You don't have to, you're not locked into CTE or any aiming method for every possible shot that you want to take. You know, you can use your pool sense, as Bob Jewett calls it, to figure out, okay, you know what? This particular shot for what I want to do calls for doing something other than what I normally do. So I like to use centered edge aiming right here. I know that I can use centered edge aiming and get on this ball almost every which way that I want. But if I really, really had to load it up with right English, well, my experience now that I've learned this will teach me, okay, maybe I don't want to use centered edge aiming on this. Maybe I want to go back to ghost ball and use that. Or I want to just use pure feel. I want to guess at it. You know, or I want to practice with it with centered edge and figure out a way to use CTE with a slight adjustment, conscious adjustment, to be able to load this up with English and get where I want to get. That's what practice is for. That's why you use a method and you work with it and you figure out every possible shot that you can do with it, what the limits are, and what you need to do to adjust to compensate for those limits. You know, some things might just be impossible. Then you'll have to figure out a way to do it, or you'll have to accept that it's impossible and figure out a different way to shoot the shot. So that's what all this is really about. It's freedom of choice and having as many tools in your arsenal as possible. There are those who will say to you, if this particular shot doesn't work, then it invalidates the whole thing. Guys, that can't ever be true. That can't ever be true for anything. No matter what it is in life, you're going to take whatever it is, whatever method it is, or whatever thing that you're using, whatever tool, and you should figure out how to use that tool to the best of your ability and to the limits of that tool. When you come across a task that that tool just will not work for, what do? You figure out a different way. You modify the tool, you modify your behavior, you go get a different tool, whatever. You figure it out how to make it work. And that's what all this is about. Centered edge aiming is merely one of the tools used to play pool. It's a tool that a lot of us find works really well, and we like it because it seems to work excellent for the vast majority of shots that you're going to be faced with. Once in a while, you'll come up with a shot like this, maybe where centered edge aiming isn't the best way to do it. Now, I just had a little bit of trouble adding right spin to this shot using centered edge aiming. You know what? I can go to people who are better than me. I can go to Stan Shuffett, I can go to Jerry Williams, I can go to Mort, and guys like that, Dave Siegel, who have studied and used centered edge aiming a lot more than me. I can go to them and I can say, hey, I'm not quite figuring it out with this shot, the best way to use CTE. Do you have any advice? And they might come back to me and say, well, yeah, you got to do this. You got to aim here and, you know, adjust this little bit and whatever. That's what discovery and conversation and collaboration is all about. You know, it's about a bunch of guys who love to play pool, figuring out better ways to play. So Joey, Pat Johnson, Satori, a lot of you guys, it seems like you like to take the joy out of playing pool. You know, learning to play with different methods is it just infuses more joy into the game. And if you try to use it and it doesn't work for you, or you can't figure it out, that doesn't mean the system doesn't work. It just means something's not clicking in your brain. You know, all of us have that situation. I work with leather. I often use techniques and I can't quite get it and I have to ask for advice or I have to practice more and then it works. Alright, anyway, a lot of talking. Let's try one more with right. I'm going to load it up with right using centered edge. See where we go. A little bit more practice. Alright, thank you very much. John Barton, JB Cases.